Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. Well, I thought what I'd talk about today are the Queen Gamecocks. These are some new knives from Queen Cutlery. These are still some knives that were made in China. These are not the new knives that are being made in the United States. However, at one time, Queen did make these knives in the United States. I think it was back in the time when the Daniel family owned the knives or owned the brand, but they might have also been made even before then. I know that I believe when Daniel's family made them, they were made around 2007, and they were very close to what we see here. And also Smoky Mountain Knife Works actually made a similar rooster knife even before that. Rooster knives have been around, but I don't know exactly how long they have been around. Now, they are often referred to as a cockfighter's knife, and that's kind of unfortunate because the knife actually has a place in history, but it doesn't deserve to be thrown into the cockpit or the cockfighting arena. It is really more designed for management of poultry on a farm. Now, I managed to snag two of the three here. I wish I'd have gone ahead and grabbed the plain white smooth bone one at the same time that I picked these up, because they're already sold out everywhere around it. So I don't know how you're going to find these again unless Queen Cutlery decides to make them again. And hopefully Smoky Mountain Knife Works will offer these up again, but they're not even showing up on their website at the moment. They've taken down the listing for it completely, and very few places, every place that I see it, it is sold out. But this is the one in the winter bottom bone. They're all, let's see here, what is this one? This is the winter bottom, QN10WB. And this one is like EWB, edged white smooth bone, EWSB rather, QN10 EWSB, edged white smooth bone. But in any case, what we have here is the winter bottom bone, and then the main blade you have on here, or the front blade you have on here, is Queen steel. I believe it's in 440C. Yeah, 440C, and it's just your basic spear point blade. And then the middle blade here is the little bone saw, or spur saw really, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And as you see, I have actually tested it on a piece of wood, and it did cut pretty well. Also, it is held in place with a couple little torques, so you can actually remove the blade and replace it. And then the third blade you have over here is a blade that a lot of people have referred to as a gutting blade, but it isn't a gutting blade. This is a blade known as a caponizing blade, and it basically turns a rooster into a capon. Now, if you're not familiar with what a capon is, it is basically a rooster that has been neutered. And the reason you do that to a rooster is to make it less aggressive, and also so you can fatten it up for broiling. And it's done at a very early age on the rooster. And that is one of the main blades that you have on here that pretty much tells you that this is not a knife for the cockfighter. There is absolutely no reason a person who's going to raise roosters for cockfighting is going to neuter the rooster. The rooster is aggressive by nature. They fight with other roosters all the time. They fight for territory. They fight for mating rights and everything else. And quite often it's like you do not want too many roosters around your chickens, because besides the roosters just fighting with each other, they will also harm the chickens when they get extremely aggressive and everything. And so you end up caponizing young roosters so that they will not become aggressive. They'll become very docile. You can fatten them up very easily, and then you sell them for meat. And when a rooster has been neutered, he's referred to as a capon. Cockfighters have no use for a capon. So why would they have a caponizing blade on their knife? The other thing you have here is the saw here. Now, the saw is used for spur management on a rooster. However, by spur management, what we're talking about is trimming the spur down on the rooster. It is not for removing the spur. And what you will do is there's a couple ways to take care of the spurs on roosters. Now, the rooster has a spur, which is basically like a big fingernail sticking out from its leg. And these things can get as much as like 2 or 3 inches long, maybe even longer than that at times. And when the spur gets extremely long, it can not only damage other hens and other roosters, it can actually damage the rooster itself. And you will sometimes see a rooster who will be limping around because its spur is so long and it has curved upwards to the point where when the rooster bends over, it pokes its own self with the spur. And so the spur needs to be shortened or cut down. Now, in cockfighting, typically what happens with spurs, with the rooster spur, is the spur is completely removed. And the way they do that is not with a saw. What they do is they will take a pair of pliers and they will basically twist off the spur. This is obviously painful for the rooster. Another way they'll do it is they'll stick a hot potato on the spur, which will soften it. And again, they end up twisting it off. And then they basically have to throw like cornstarch or some kind of something on the little spot where the spur was removed to control the bleeding and stuff. And then once that heals over, they actually attach a metal spur in place of the original spur, and that's done by just basically wrapping a spur on there that's anywhere from 1 inch to 2 or 3 inches long, depending on how they want this rooster to fight. And even in cockfighting, it's not necessarily a fight to the death all the time. Usually cockfights are managed into like 3 20-minute rounds with 20-minute breaks in between and stuff like that. And basically once one rooster feels that he lost and starts running away, a winner is declared. But in any case, it is still a blood sport, and it is not highly admired through most of the world. Matter of fact, many countries in the world, including through most of Central and Latin America, cockfighting is illegal. It is tolerated in some areas and in also some places where it has a cultural significance. But in any case, the other thing about the spur on the rooster, it is basically like a fingernail. So when they remove that spur from the rooster's leg, it is basically like pulling out a big fingernail. Like, could you imagine somebody grabbing a pair of pliers and yanking out your thumbnail? That's basically what it is like to have the spur removed. However, what you'll do on for your rooster at a farm or something that is becoming overly aggressive or is hurting other chickens with its spur, is you will trim the spur down and blunt it. And that's what the saw here is for. It's actually for trimming the spur down. Now, there's a couple ways of trimming the spur, and the most common one is using like the pet nail clippers, and they probably have now developed actual rooster clippers, but A jeweler's saw was something that used to be used quite often and is still used by quite a few people still today. And the reason they use the saw is because the clippers are known to basically cause, when you clip the spurs are kind of brittle, and what will happen is it'll fracture the spur and it'll cause little cracks and stuff in it. And these cracks will then collect dust and dirt and other debris. Chickens are not the cleanest animals around, and what will happen is the spur has the potential of getting infected. But if you saw it off, you have less chance of shattering the tip of the spur or causing these splinters in the spur. And so sawing them is a better option. But even then, after you saw the spur, often what you'll do is then file it just like you would with your own fingernail. After you cut the nail, you file it down so that you have less chances of picking up a hangnail, or less chances of, in the case of the spur, less chances of it getting a split in the spur and causing damage and such. So that's what the saw is here for. It is not to completely remove a spur. It is to trim the spur down to a more manageable length. So you'll cut the spur down similar to the way you would cut your fingernail down, and try not to get it into the quick. It's kind of like the same thing you do with your dog's nails, and even what you do with a cat's claws. You know, you'll trim them down occasionally so that they don't get too long and cause problems for the cat or dog to hurt themselves with their own claws. And roosters are aggressive by nature, so if they have that big long spur, they can cause damage to the hens when mating. They can definitely damage or hurt each other when they're deciding to fight for territory. And if you've got two roosters for the same hen house, you're going to have territorial fights. So that's why the blade is there. So if you're trying to remove the entire spur, the saw is not the tool you would use. You would use a pair of pliers. So everything about this knife, other than the idea that it is a cockfighter's knife, which is more of a marketing ploy than anything else, and not a smart marketing ploy these days, really is designed to take care of a rooster and help manage the rooster or the farm. But the one blade on here that kind of could be troubling is this blade here, the capon blade, or caponizing blade, the blade to remove the knotty bits on a rooster. Now, the problem with the caponizing blade is there are a couple places where it's illegal to neuter a rooster, and capons are frowned upon. I believe the United Kingdom is one such place. Now, the reason capons are popular is that you fatten them up real quick and you turn out a very juicy piece of chicken. That's really what it comes down to. They're supposed to make excellent broilers and everything else. A better source of meat than the typical chicken, or hen rather, and much better than a rooster. Roosters tend to be stringy and everything, but the capon is supposed to be very tender. In any case, I think the better option for a knife such as this, with the spur saw on here, would be a spur file. So basically add a file to this knife and remove the caponizing blade. The reason I would say that is because the file works in conjunction with the spur saw. So if you had a file here and the spur saw, you could saw the spur down, and then you could also use the file and file it down. And also, if the Spur is not too long to begin with, and all you really need to do is blunt it a bit. You could just break out the file and file it down. So I think that would be a better option for the person with the backyard chicken coop. And if they were to do that and promote this more in line with rooster management instead of cockfighting, this knife could become a little more popular these days, because I know there are plenty of people who look at the knife, find it fascinating, but then as soon as they see, oh, this is for cockfighting, I don't want to have anything to do with that. So it is not the best way to promote these knives these days, even if these have been around historically for a long time. The feeling that they are attached somehow to cockfighting is a bad thing. I think if you're going to promote these knives these days, you're better off promoting them for rooster management and rooster care, and show the positive aspects of these knives. And as I mentioned earlier, they really are not the tool that the cockfighter would be looking for. But for the backyard rooster or for the backyard chicken coop, this could be a very useful knife. Not having my own chicken coop, maybe somebody who has a chicken coop could chime in the comments below and say, yeah, I can see that working. In any case, that's my thoughts on these GameCock knives. And I will do a more thorough review later on the build quality of them and how well the blades work. In any case, I will talk to you again soon and revisit these knives again.
Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.